and welcome to today's episode of the Nostalgia Hunters podcast. I'm joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Dayton.
And I am Paul. And today's game is a very special one, if you want to tell us what it is.
Well, I got you something special here today, alright? We got something here real special. Hard as hell on the Sega Genesis, but we decided to play it on the Nomad. Well, I played it on the Genesis because I couldn't get the Nomad to work as usual. And that game is Ranger X.
Yeah, that was a very interesting game. And I played the game for a couple times trying to see how far I could get with it. I got pretty much past the first, I'd say, 2 levels to the second boss, and then that boss just completely decimated me.
Well, I got to the end of the game, regrettably. It was a pain in the ass, and, well, I gotta say, there are some things that Sega does that Nintendo don't, and this game was something that Nintendo should be glad they didn't do. Not that it's a bad game.
Not bad.
It's just hard.
Hard, yeah. I don't know how. I watched a bunch of long plays and speedruns on it to try to figure out how to play this game effectively, and I still couldn't figure it out. I saw one dude in like 11 minutes, and I'm going, WTF? How the hell did you do that?
Yeah, the play that I saw was about 12 minutes long, and this guy... what I see in the game is that what you have to do is go as fast as you can, ignore all damage, and you'll probably be lucky enough to get to the other side.
Lucky enough is about it.
I mean, for the style of game it is, though, it was released... It's hard to, kind of think of, the jump to, from 2D to 3D, but this game was released in 1993, which feels very recent, but, 3D games weren't around till, 94 and 95.
Yeah, that is true. They weren't out until, about 95. And, being for the Sega Nomad, which this game actually was originally for the Sega Genesis. The Nomad really was a portable Sega Genesis.
Yeah, no, basically what they did is they took the Model 3 Sega Genesis, took its guts out, trimmed it down even more, and then shoved it into a fun-sized package with a battery life of a toothpick.
Yeah, pretty much. You play one game and then you have to change the battery.
One game. More like one level. Yeah.
You sit there playing it back as a kid. I need a battery to get to the next level.
Oh yeah, man. I think that might be why the Game Boy probably won out, and that's because it had, at least enough time to probably go through one of its games. Maybe not WarioWare or something, but, the Mario that's on there, that'd probably work.
Yeah, that was true. I mean, the Game Boy did have a longer lifespan than the Nomad itself, and the Game Boy actually then had several iterations of it with the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance.
Well, about this game, there really isn't much in the way of story. Apparently the enemies have names and all that shit, and of course you're Ranger X, but you're some dude inside of an exoskeleton. You're not the actual robot, you're just some dude piloting it, and you apparently have to fight some invading forces against something called the Rahuna, and all you get really is a jetpack and a few weapons.
Yeah, I know. And plus, you get maybe a couple odd vehicles you can jump into and whatnot. Like something that looks like a hummingbird on wheels that doesn't fly, and a couple other things from when I watched speedruns and long plays. But yeah, there really wasn't much story to this game at all.
And from what I can tell by looking it up, there is no story. You're just some dude, some guys are here to screw some shit up, and you're gonna kill them all.
This game looks like something that was an arcade port at one time in Japan, and they just decided to, what the hell, let's try to see what we can do if we port this to arcade and keep the story. I mean, if that was the case, then yeah, they did really good making sure the graphics were good, but gameplay and story were kind of non-existent. Well, gameplay was there, but story was non-existent.
And man, I gotta say that, oh, this is good. Here's the entire premise of the game, summed up in 4 words. RoboCop on a Harley.
Yeah, pretty much. It was your typical run and gun game where you're nothing more than RoboCop. I mean, if you want to look at it in more modern movies, I'd say something like what was that movie with Hugh Jackman as they fighting robots?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Oh wait, is it shit.
Real Steel, I think it was called.
Real Steel? Yeah, I think there's an Eminem song.
Yeah, and I mean, and if you're more of an anime fan, let's just take it. The anime is more or less like watching like playing Neo Genesis Evangelion or Gundam.
Man, the only thing I know there is Gundam, and that's because my old boss used to buy Gundams and build them instead of doing his job. Nah, no offense to my boss, man. He was a great dude.
Yeah, it was a fun game to play. I mean, it's one of those games where you just kind of you want to see how far you can go and how high you can get the score.
Oh yeah, no, like that's the entire point of games, isn't it? Just to have some good old fun until you break your controller in half from the sheer rage of dying to the same goddamn walking tank every single time.
Yeah, we were trying to throw your controller at a wall and see if it sticks.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm just reading something else a little bit interesting. You know the intro to it, the wireframe intro, it's apparently 3D, or it's classified as 3D, and that is kind of surprising. For even a Genesis, wireframe 3D would be a pain for it to render.
Yeah, I agree. When I started playing the game at first, I thought I grabbed the wrong game because it looked like I was playing Star Fox.
Oh yeah, no, like I thought like I was playing like a tech demo on Sega Saturn or something, because like for like it's still wireframe. That isn't impressive by any means nowadays. But this is on a Sega Genesis here and on a Sega Nomad, and while I noticed it lagged for me, it was probably an issue actually with a cart. For everyone else, it seems to run just fine, which, kudos to the Sega Genesis. Usually you need every single other attachment to that damn thing to make it even run partial 3D.
Yeah, I know.
Like, first you need your Genesis, then you need the dock, then you need the CD player, then you need the 32X, then you need a Game Genie, and then you can run whatever the hell that Sonic game was.
If you really look at what a Sega Genesis looked like once you had every add-on attached to it, it didn't look like a Sega Genesis anymore.
And, like, when it comes to the development of this game, this was the first game this development team actually made. I think they're called Next Entertainment now, if they're not, like, defunct. But, like, this was their first game, and for their first game, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the graphics were pretty decent. The music was kept you wanting to go. It's just the difficulty was insane.
And some dude with the last name Toyota also helped as a designer, or he was the designer, along with Yamamoto.
Yeah, I know. I was reading the wiki trying to learn a little bit more about the game and its development, and I was kind of quite surprised that you had a Toyota.
And apparently this game was created on just intuition alone, and there was no copying of any other titles, which, I kind of believe, because I've never seen a game quite like it since and before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at first I thought, this reminds me of something of Zaxxon or Galaxian or Life Force, but no, this did not even compare to that. It was like in its own league of actual game.
Oh yeah, no, like I got callbacks to like playing like 1942, the side-scrolling shooter, and then it was like, wait a minute, no, this is nothing like that. This is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, at least 1942 you can get pretty far in that, but this is one of those games that makes you want to rage quit over and over and over again.
I mean, hey, for a game like that, you really can't. Like, you either get a good story, a hard game that incentivizes you to beat it with more points, or you get a bad game back in those days. Like, you either get a hard game that you want to beat, or you get a good game with a good story.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this isn't no Final Fantasy type game, but this is a hard game with absolutely, really no context as the story at all. It's just like, here, push start and play. I even tried playing it in easy mode, and I still couldn't get very far.
There's an easy mode? I did not know that.
Yeah, you go into options, and then you could choose easy, normal, or hardcore.
And I'm assuming normal is the default?
Yeah.
Okay, then I beat the game on normal mode. I'm never touching hardcore, mind you.
Yeah, anytime you play a game where you go into the settings and you look at the difficulties and you got hardcore, that's just the one setting you just do not wish to play unless you really like absolute torture.
Alright, so it seems that Toyota over here, he wanted to make this game because he wanted to make a game like this for a while, and he wanted to make it for the Sega Genesis. So he decided to make his own programming tools. This game is coded without any other game engine, any other code from any other game, which was really common back then too, because, you know, like DRM and all that shit wouldn't be invented till like after the DOS era, pretty much. Like, yeah, you got games with copy protection, but DRM, that didn't exist really. And this guy made this shit from the ground up. And then he also pushed the frickin' Sega Genesis as far as it will go, and probably a little bit beyond it, because I swear to you, when I turn on my Sega Genesis and that game gets near, it starts to cry.
Please don't put me in it. I can only do so much.
I mean, personally, I believe that if I was crazy enough, because I've had this idea for a long time, right? I've always wanted to take a Tower of Power and make the Genesis run a version of Minecraft I code myself. I've not done it. I've not done it for good reason, because I suck at coding. But I do believe it has the capability, and this game only furthers that a little bit more, but it also shows that it will be wireframe Minecraft.
Oh, yay, wireframe Minecraft. You can't even tell if you're mining diamond or gold. It's just a wireframe thing that probably has a letter G in it for gold.
That's what I was thinking of doing, actually. Just making some wireframe with like some lettering in it and some coloration differences. Like water would be a dark blue, diamond would be a light blue, lapis would be like in between. But then I was like, wait a minute, the color palette of this Genesis still isn't that good, even though it was really good like on Sonic and shit.
Yeah, I know.
Like compared to like 10 colors on the NES, you got like 20 on the Genesis pretty much, because like most games have like a similar palette.
I mean, I don't mind run-and-gun games, but this game, if I was inclined to pull my hair out and go bald for the rest of my life, this game would do it. The sheer level of difficulty, but yeah, for a color palette and the graphics, it does seem like it wanted to push the Sega Genesis. They wanted to push the Sega Genesis as far as it could go, and even farther, to the point where probably if you probably played it anymore, Genesis would probably end up smoking and start on fire.
Oh yeah, man, like, and I'd assume any console of that era would probably catch on fire. I know for a fact the SNES would have. That thing couldn't do 3D, and I know that for a fact it cannot do 3D.
Yeah, this seemed like something that might have came out of like 90s computers back then, and it came out back in what, the 80s?
No, it came out in '93, but if it was on an arcade, then yeah, it probably came back out in like in the '80s, early '90s.
Well, I know most games back in the 90s and even in the 80s were basically arcade ports that they put up for the consoles.
And one thing I do notice about the game is that when you're playing, if you listen to the music, as you go through the levels, they sound really different and have no correlation to each other.
Yeah, it's just there to keep you going, to keep you playing more and more of the game before you decide to take your controller and wall test it.
Like, it isn't bad music, but it's like a cacophony of music. Like, I know it's all like a similar type, like rockish theme, similar to like Sonic and all that, but the Sonic music had like a feel that matched the levels. This sounds like I'm listening to Spotify in the background while playing a game mindlessly.
Yeah, I agree. You're just sitting there going, okay, I'm playing this game and I got Spotify playing some random 8-bit music or some chip tunes in the background while I'm trying to play a game that's incredibly difficult and I keep wanting to throw my controller against the wall, but the music keeps me wanting to play, thus preventing me from throwing my controller against the wall.
And from what it seems, back in the day, I'm gonna be honest right now. I'm gonna give this thing not that good of a rating. Like, I'm not gonna even give it like above an 8. But back in the day, it was received pretty well. Like CVG, they gave it a 93 out of 100. EGM gave it 31 out of 40. I think the worst rating here is by Famitsu, and I'm pretty sure that's a Famicom thing, because Fami. But it's a 68 out of 100, which is still above a failing grade.
But it was ambitious for a company to try to make a game not like any other game that was out there, using their own software engine to actually create and code this game and put it out.
And according to some publications, they claim that this game broke through the Mega Drive's hardware color limitations, which I'm pretty sure is impossible, but, you know, I'm not a coder. I don't know what trickery they've done. I mean, on the Commodore, people did a lot of shit, so...
Yeah, and... Yeah, I'm dumbfounded at how that could even be happening, but then again, like you said, I'm also not a coder. You know, I did maybe a bit of coding back in the old Commodore days when I was a kid, but other than that, I don't know how to do something that impressive, even on a C64 or DOS machine.
Though, there was something I did notice as I did play the game, and like, as it did get a little bit more hectic, you know, a little busy, I did notice a small bit of like flickering of the sprites. Not of like the background or anything, just the sprites alone. Maybe there was some background flicker, I really don't know, but that is like one thing that I did notice, is that like there are limits still to the Mega Drive, to the Genesis, and to the Nomad. And basically, there was... Well, it hit those limits, and it still kept on pushing.
Yeah, I didn't notice any flickering, but then again, I was too busy trying to see how far I could get in the game. It took me forever just to get past the second level. I got to the point where I'd get to, like, almost one more thing to destroy, and then I died and had no more continues, and wanted to basically throw my controller against a wall. But instead, I hit start again, start over from the beginning, to keep going, to do this. Finally, I figured out how to get past the second level, got to the next level, beat all the things, got to the boss, and the boss shot his eye at me, and I died instantly, going, okay, I'm done now.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, man. Like, that is one thing about, like, the difficulties, like, with the controller scheme. Like, it's intuitive for what the controller scheme is, but it's not easy to get used to. And then the way that it throws you from one level, first level, you're in a wide open space with plenty of room to move around, fire your rockets and shit. And second level, you're going through tunnels tighter than your mom.
And plus, you know, then you get, like, things like balls you can shoot at, but then as you shoot at them, you get worms kind of flying at you. And the only way to stop them from attacking you was to find out where these things that you activate to activate a wall of light that blow up them.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if you noticed this, but did you know that you could also, like, blast holes in the ceiling so you can recharge your power?
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, that's how you get your power in the underground level there, is you need to blast holes into the ceiling to recharge your Gundam suit, basically, so you can keep going, basically, because you're solar powered, it seems.
Yeah, and then there were liquids. There was like an area of like water where even you and the hummingbird on wheels you had accompanying you basically was losing power and life as you went through it. And it's like, well, what point is that?
So I'm assuming you found out the hard way that the hummingbird basically that thing it's tethered to you in such a way that if it dies, you die.
Yeah, I found that out one time. I'm going, okay, what the hell? I was at full power and that thing, it died, and now I have to start over?
Yeah, so that is an interesting dynamic, but even in games today, Wolfenstein Youngblood, people don't really like having to manage another person. Like, isn't the entire thing of, like, fetch quests, like, oh, you need to escort... No, not fetch quests, but the escort quests, like, oh, you need to escort this person through, you know, the third gate of hell itself. But they can't die, or you lose.
Yeah, I know. I've been playing a lot of Warframe lately in my off time when I got nothing to do and whatnot, and there's a lot of there's a lot of missions. There's a couple missions exactly like that where you have to go rescue somebody out of something, and if you do it the wrong way, your time you've got like 1 minute to do it, and once you've rescued them, then you've got to escort them safely through the level to the end of the mission. And if they die, well, then you start over.
Oh yeah, I know. And you know what's even better is when it's actually tied to an item, like in Skyrim for the freaking Flame Wolf. And when the person dies, you can never get the item again.
Yeah, I know. You know, if the person dies, well, the quest is now screwed. You can't start the quest over, and well, the items are lost to you. I know Skyrim is full of that.
Thank God for Fallout games and them. Well, I said Fallout, but Bethesda games and the fact that like in every single fucking 3D game they've made in the past 100 years, the enemies once you start a quest spawn ahead of you, and you can just kill them before you let the ally move, and you just walk to the end. But like knowing like my luck, like for some reason like in medieval Skyrim a claymore will be on the ground and it'll blow the shit out of the fucking person I'm escorting still.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I played Skyrim. I played Fallout 4, modded Fallout 4. I play and own the worst Fallout game yet so far, Fallout 76. But then again, I'm a glutton for punishment and playing bad games once in a while.
Nah, man. I don't say Fallout 76 is bad. It was just executed poorly at launch.
Oh god, don't get me on the launch. Yes, you were right. It was executed poorly at launch, especially the special edition version of the game that was supposed to come with certain extra items, and what you got was not exactly the extra items that you were expecting.
Yeah, nah, I haven't felt such cheap shit in my life. Yes, I splurged for the special edition. Yes, I am a Fallout fanboy. But that is one thing. Why do games still do that? Why do they have escort quests when even all the way back in 1993, a game that is effectively an escort quest and a shoot 'em up on extreme difficulty on easy mode, no one really enjoys that.
Yeah. You know, the second worst quest I've ever played in any game, be it Skyrim or any MMORPG, is the second worst quest I hate, besides fetch quests, are escort quests. And why make an entire game that's an escort quest?
I mean, back then you didn't really have much of a choice. You just gotta go with what you got. But the fact that we still do it today, and the fact that they still think that we like it, just shows how inept a lot of game developers are. Because back in the day, you didn't really have the internet to, head over to the author's Twitter page and say, hey, this shit sucks. Nah, you'd probably have to call them up, and the weird thing is that they'd probably answer their phone too.
And back in the day, you had those 900 numbers or 800 numbers that you call and you jacked up your parents' phone bill just to get a tip that really didn't make any sense to you at all over the phone.
Oh yeah, they had tip lines. I forgot about those. I just remember the, hey, send this booklet in for a membership that's gonna cost you a bit of money.
Or Nintendo Power magazines.
Oh yeah, I have one of those somewhere.
I had a collection of those things.
Yeah, they're not too common anymore, but like I don't have that collector mindset that a lot of people do. Like, I have a few systems, like I have a Dreamcast, a Tandy 1000, but I don't really have anything besides like a Coleco and an Atari, because I know for jack shit I ain't going to be playing a Fairchild Channel F for any length of time more than maybe like 30 seconds. And that's because I don't find any of the games fun. So I don't really collect to display. I collect to play, which a lot of people probably will hate.
No, I'm partially the same way. I collect to play and to display, but I'm not going to collect systems that I've never played or remember knowing back in the day. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to get a Channel F. I'm not going to go out of my way to get systems that I really weren't interest in me. Yeah, I have an old school NES, I have a Sega Genesis, but I want to get the systems that I remember playing, like a Commodore 64. I'm not going to go out of my way to get a Tandy 1000 or an Amiga because I never had them. I want the systems I had as a kid.
The only reason why I even got these is like I have a G3 and a Tandy. I never grew up with that. I grew up on the original Xbox, and I grew up on the PS2, and I think the NES, but that was because we had one for some reason. And like, I got the Tandy because like I know there's games that I want to play, like Duke Nukem. I know the Tandy won't run it, but there's games I want to play on DOS. Like, I have a Game Boy in my hand right now. I've never wanted a Game Boy, and the only reason why I have a Game Boy is because someone gave it to me for free.
Yeah, I know the closest thing I have to a Commodore 64 right now is the C64 Mini, which I don't know where that is. That's buried in our basement somewhere, and I got to dig it out. And then, I have, the closest I think I had at the time before I got my NES to an NES Classic was the Cool Baby Entertainment HDMI Entertainment Center, basically the NES Mini knockoff.
Oh yeah, no, I have the exact same thing, but it's called a Fun Bros. They're all the same.
Yeah, pretty much. It advertises like over 600 games, and only like 4 of them you recognize. The rest are just nothing more than ROM hacks that make no sense.
Does yours also come with a weird NES controller that has like 4 buttons?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Yeah. I'm sitting there going through it. It's got like 20 different versions of Mario. I found one as like one was called Kamikaze Mario. I'm going, what is this? And I started playing it, and then I go, oh dear God, Mario's naked.
Oh yeah, that's on here too. Yeah, no, they're the exact same thing, except under different names because they get sued. But like, I actually have a Commodore 64. The only reason why I have a Commodore 64 is because, like, that's just the quintessential computer. If you collect retro tech, you have to have a Commodore 64.
Yeah. But I grew up with a Commodore 64 and a VIC-20, so, God, I'm old. Please stop.
Yeah. Back in my day, our computer was the keyboard. And here I am, like...
Yeah, I know. I talk to someone of your generation or my stepson's generation about stuff like the Commodore 64, and they look at me going, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Oh, it is funny though, is like how computers went from being extremely massive to rather compact, like a Commodore, back to extremely massive, back to compact. And now the thing is like just giant fucking gaming rigs the size of a fucking locker.
Yeah, I know. I've seen so many people's gaming rigs. It's like you've got 2 monitors and 2 keyboards, and you're sitting there playing it, and you got multiple monitors on your screen just so you can get a nice widescreen view. Why can't you just stick with the one view you get from one monitor?
Yeah, exactly. And like for me, like my gaming rig here. It's a 2012 Mac Mini with a Sharp TV, a small fucking TV monitor that you like have in like a kitchen to watch a cooking show, some generic ass J5000 mouse that glows, and an MK11 keyboard from Walmart.
Nice. Mine's a nice little laptop I bought from Best Buy. And my original laptop I had when I first moved in with my fiance, I had bought with my tax money. That took a dump when the motherboard just got fried and it wouldn't charge anymore. So I've been through a couple laptops in the past couple years. Hopefully the one I got now lasts longer.
Yeah, my laptop, I need to fix this thing. I got it from a pawn shop, right? Ryzen 3 11.0, pretty good. It lasted all of 4 months. I got it in July, and the beginning of this month it just stopped working. No, it lasted 2 months. Shit! Like, it was already 6 years old, but still. even bought an SSD for the thing, but I have a feeling I know what caused its incompatibility issues with turning on. It's called Windows 11.
Oh god, I haven't even put that on my laptop yet.
I mean, my Mac Mini has Boot Camp Windows 11 just in case I need to do something on Windows, because I just decided, why not?
Yeah, I had messed around with Apple computers for a little bit in my time. I mean, I had one of those Apple computers that was nothing more than a monitor with a disc with a 3.5-inch floppy drive shoved in it and a keyboard.
Ah, yes.
I think they were called iMacs.
No, that would be the SC. An iMac would be an Internet Macintosh, which I have the very first of, and it has a CD drive.
Nice. I had to buy an external CD drive for the one I had.
Yeah, those things, yeah, I had one, but I no longer have it because I don't really play Oregon Trail enough, I guess.
There's a game I remember fondly playing back when I was in school on the old Apple Mac computers Macintosh computers they had. You know, the ones with the green monochrome screens.
Oh, the Apple IIs?
Yes.
Ah, yes, I remember those fondly as I grew up with XP machines in my school.
And when I was in high school, we grew up with old DOS. We had old DOS PCs in our school's library. At one point in time, you had to log in, and it didn't have Windows. It had the old Microsoft DOS, where you had to use a space bar or the directional keys to get to where you want to load the files. And you had to type in the DOS commands to get the list of the files and know how to do it.
Not even Windows 1.1? Damn. I mean, I'm pretty sure when my school was founded, it probably, I think, had, well, I know when it was founded it didn't have computers. Maybe it had a main server, but that would have been a fucking reel-to-reel system, and there would have been almost no point to it, but I think their first computers were all Tandies. The only reason why I think that is because last year I tried to convince my principal to give me one of the Tandies that they were throwing out because they still had a bunch of their old computers in the old computer lab, and they decided to, like they were in the closet. They've already upgraded years ago, but these were still in their closet, and he tried to, but the IT guy just nah, man, we gotta throw them in the dumpster. No, you don't. They don't have hard drives. I guarantee you the data is gone.
Yeah, you're not gonna literally get anything off of them.
Well, no, if they had a Tandy 1000 like my Tandy, everything was stored on floppy drives. They had an OS, of course. It had DOS and Deskmate both on the same damn thing, but that was on ROM, and the ROM was only big enough just to hold DOS and Deskmate. Nothing else.
They're probably connected to a server, and that's where all the data was.
But I do think we've trailed off a bit, so we might as well wrap this up. What do you rate Ranger X?
I rate Ranger X. I'll give it 2 thumbs up, maybe about an 8. The level of difficulty, if it was a little bit easier, I might put it up as a 9. But other than that, it's a pretty solid game.
From my experience, from level design, the only things that I can see why it was as popular as it was back in the day was for the same reason the graphics boom happened, and that was because it had good graphics. The game is lackluster in almost every way to me. It doesn't have a story compelling enough to even explain why we're doing anything. For all we know, we could actually be the ones invading someone else's planet. I mean, I know that's not true. They're bombing us, so. But, still. So I give it, a 7.2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Well, I've been Dayton.
And I'm Paul.
And this was the Nostalgia Hunters podcast.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.